Hey, I'm Noah.
Hey, I'm Tim.
And this is our ongoing comic strip AP of Dogs in the Vineyard.
All right, so we return back with Terrence, Witt.
That's right.
Played by Noah, GMing by myself. Picking up right where we left off last time. And don't want to spoil anything, but we know that the type of conflict that we're going to be seeing today is not just a person against a person. It's not just some people talking in real time. It's like, would you say like a little more cinematic, I guess?
Yeah. We're going to hit on some mechanics that we've done once before when we did the Crescent Moon game, but we didn't really talk about. But Dogs in the Vineyard has a pretty cool way of doing groups of people.
And it's really far-reaching. Like, you can get pretty cinematic, as you'll see with this, because each trait for that group can represent a different person. Obviously, you know, we can jump cinematically from like an action sequence to talking to shooting to fighting. Leave us something in the comments, and yeah, let's get going.
Sounds good. I am not by nature a man of violence, and yet Brother Wiley drove me to do violent acts. Now, I don't think he'll be acting up anytime soon, and I told all those dogs, no guns. Well, that was before I saw the smoke, and the blood, and the bodies. We saw the Territorial Authority riding from New Hope. Well, we're not going to meet them quite yet, so we rode by Hooper instead, found that the church was burning, several dead there. A quite unhinged woman with a giant scar on her face was yelling uncontrollably, and people were leaving town quite quickly. It looks like the entire city's falling apart. She ranted that the Territorial Authority were to blame, and, well, she does have evidence on her side. I sent one of Wiley's boys up ahead to meet the Territorial Authority and send for parley. So here we are on the field, waiting for the Territorial Authority to come meet us. My name's Brother Terrence Witt, and I'm a dog.
So off in the distance, not too far away, you can see the town of New Hope, and it looks like it's still being constructed. The church is apparent, but the other buildings are half standing. And it's from there that you see the riders appear. The Territorial Authority are easy to pick out, about 12 of them, gray flanneled, stiff-backed. And then there's about half a dozen townspeople. One stands out in particular as he has bandages wrapped across his chest over his shoulder, and the bloodstains are dried on the bandages, even though he looks like he's wincing from the pain. So the bandaged man and two other townspeople are the ones that ride up close. That one with the bandages shouts out to you and your posse, "I am Zachary. What do you want?"
I have my cloak drawn around me, and I have my hat dipped low so you can't really see my face. Saw a church got burned. Saw a dog got taken prisoner. We're here to find out what that's all about.
He looks back at the Territorial Authority. They're sort of standing rank, you know? There's like 3 lines of 4 of them each. "We've had some bad run-ins with dogs lately. So you can understand that I'm going to want to give you the information you need so that you can get on out of here."
All due respect, sir. It ain't your church that got burned down.
So he's gruff. He's straightforward. He just gives you the facts. Apparently, the Sister Clementine was one who banished himself, Zachary, from Hooper. Some others followed to this town called New Hope that they created. They weren't able to come back, get their supplies. And when they finally did so, under the leadership of Sister Clementine, you know, Zachary was shot as he was leaving town. And they had already known to rely on the Territorial Authority. Sounds like Zachary's had some more than one bad run-in with dogs after all. And so he came back full force, found the man that shot him. Apparently they had some bad blood before. A dog, actually, a brother, Edwin. Seeing that Sister Clementine was a sibling of this dog, it sounds like he found no problem with taking her prisoner, more or less, you know, until she could be trusted what she would do next and have the Territorial Authority pass judgment on what to do. He states, after all, it's the law of their land here. This sister, this dog, she's in New Hope now.
Well, that sounds like a real pickle. I'm afraid I'm going to need to hear it from this Sister Clementine's mouth as well. Now, you just run and fetch her, and we won't have any problems.
That sister, she's in New Hope now, and New Hope is under territorial authority. So I see no reason why you would be the one to hear her side. Then again, you could go see her yourself. And the other men around him start laughing, and the territorial authority folks shuffle uncomfortably.
I kind of squint, and I look back at Hooper, and we see that thin wisp of smoke coming from probably a put-out fire by now, but, it's still smoldering. And then I look the other way, and I say, see that ridge over yonder? We're going to camp up there tonight. You either bring me this sister, or we'll see you tomorrow.
So it's that evening up on the ridge, and no riders are showing up from New Hope. So
yeah, I didn't expect them to.
To say that the others are uneasy is an understatement. What are you doing tonight?
We've set up a camp that's very visible from, it's right near the edge of that ridge. Mm-hmm. But that camp's a false camp. And I tell all the young dogs that there'll be no fires except for the one. Mm-hmm. We cannot trust this territorial authority. They're not us, basically. Right. I also tell them that I'm going to go into town tonight without my cloak and find this Sister Clementine. And that if we can do this without guns, we're going to do it without guns. If any of the other dogs ask why I'm not wearing my cloak into town, I'll just tell them that it's pretty obvious. Mm-hmm. If I go in there with my cloak on, they'll shoot me or take me prisoner. I think I'd put Sister Althea in charge of the camp. So what's at stake is, will I rescue Sister Clementine? My cloak is off, and I ride Rio down there. And when I get near the town, I walk Rio, and I tie him behind a building.
And the back of that building opens up, and a townsperson in night clothes comes rushing out in a hurry, and they run right between you and Rio, seemingly on their way to the outhouse.
I keep my head down, and I politely nod at them and tip my hat and walk into town. I see that most of these buildings aren't finished, and I look around and I think, well, where would I keep somebody? Keep somebody in that big finished building over there, the church. And I head that way.
That church, the one with the lights on inside, the one with the territorial authority standing right outside the front steps. I don't know what you'd think about someone just walking into church in the middle of the night and has his eye on you as you approach.
These dang dogs out there got me all jittery. I can't sleep. I figured I'd just come into church and pray to the King of Life. You know what the good book says. And I quote some scripture at him. As I just breezed by that guy, he came out to meet me a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I say to these other guys, evening, gents, the man over there said I could, just come in and sit and be safe for a while. And I just walk right by them real quick.
So this church, even though it's all exposed wood beams, no painted glass, has an austere beauty to it. And up front, you see a woman with a long blonde braid. You recognize her from that day prior as the one with their hands tied behind her back, as they currently are now. As you approach, you see movement from the back of the church. It's too late. You've been spotted, right?
Right.
And Sister Althea appears from the back and gives you a nod as you were both thinking the same thing of where to go.
Right. I furrow my brow at Althea, but I can't say anything. We got to stay quiet. And I motion to Sister Clementine. I untie her and I ungag her. And I lead her towards the back, towards Sister Althea.
Yeah, she follows you. Her eyes are red, like she's been crying recently. Before she gets to that exit, she stops and runs back to the pulpit. And there is a bloodied cloak that's been folded up. It's not hers. It looks like the one that you saw before. And she stashes that under her arm and then runs to meet you on the way out of the church.
I motion to Sister Clementine to get on Sister Althea's horse. Mm-hmm. And I send them on their way. And I go find Rio, jumping from shadow to shadow behind the buildings this time rather than the main street. And I quietly walk Rio out of there we got away with it, but they're gonna know. I think my accent's gotten thicker as the games have gone on.
You're embedded in the culture here. So.
Yeah. I'm eventually just going to be Boomer from King of the Hill.
Hi, this is Jason from The Gauntlet. If you enjoyed this episode of Comic Strip AP, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. We have many other Comic Strip AP shows available, each organized in their own sequential playlist for easy listening. Just go to youtube.com and search for Gauntlet RPG.